Your stable thinking exists right at the edge of breaking apart. The greatest ideas do not slowly build. They avalanche. Your brain operates like a self-tuning system, accumulating tension until it hits critical mass. It is not just about random sparks firing. It is the entire architecture suddenly shifting configuration. Imagine a stack of tiny stones on a precarious slope, stable and quiet until one nudge triggers a cascade that reorganizes everything beneath it. This instantaneous insight is not magic. It is physics, specifically what we call phase transition in neural networks. We are finally charting how thought itself becomes an unstable system capable of spontaneous revolution. So how does a cascade actually start? It does not happen all at once. The network first hits a point where its response time slows down dramatically, a pattern called critical slowing down. Think of a complex machine that starts grinding to an unbearable halt just before snapping into new gear. That hesitation is key. During this pause, disparate areas of your brain start whispering back and forth, a process we map as resonant coupling between theta and gamma frequencies. These subtle signals finally coalesce, achieving synchronous firing events that trigger the total architecture shift you have been tracking. We focused on how localized signals build up until they snap into place. But that sudden reorganization needs more than just electrical pressure. It requires deep system preparedness. Imagine trying to set a complex mechanism running when its gears are rusted or misaligned. The realization does not stick if the entire biological engine is not ready for coherence. What research reveals is that our ability to reach this new state of stable complexity depends on modulating our underlying autonomic balance, our internal regulatory stability, which we call allostatic load modulation. This shift toward total physiological harmony becomes a prerequisite for genuine intuitive breakthrough. It means something nobody expected for sustained insight. It is not just about what your brain is doing. It is how well the whole organism can hold itself together before the next massive architectural overhaul. What if the greatest leaps in understanding are not gradual climbs, but unpredictable avalanches? We assumed that our brains just had to line up nicely for a breakthrough moment. But what we are seeing is something far more chaotic and beautiful. The network is not designed to be stable. It is built to maintain tension right on the precipice of collapse, functioning as a self-organizing critical system. When that accumulated systemic pressure finally releases, the entire structure shifts into a new configuration automatically, a thought avalanche. This process is far messier than any linear model predicts. Some researchers still argue that this emergent complexity must be strictly deterministic, but our data suggests otherwise. I was right. The evidence for true non-predictability just keeps piling up, and it leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. How do we even quantify something so fundamentally spontaneous? The real breakthrough moment is not just random noise firing up. It is about signal processing at its absolute limit. How do you pull meaningful patterns out of biological chaos? You reach a specific frequency match, a state where subtle information from widely separated regions finally begins to resonate perfectly, achieving hypersynchronization across the network. Think of trying to hear one faint radio station while surrounded by pure static. This mechanism is how the brain suddenly filters that noise and locks onto one profound signal. It is not just a flicker of connectivity. This deep resonance forces disparate data points, memories, concepts, sensory input, to coalesce instantly into something new, an instantaneous recognition event we call pattern extraction. But while researchers have tracked when those critical thresholds are met, they have not fully mapped the specific structural changes that stabilize this new knowledge state once it emerges from the chaos. It was assumed that once those patterns snapped into focus during a resonance peak, the new idea simply rested there, a fleeting thought in biological static. But this is where our models fail, and here is the pivot. Transient hyperconnectivity alone does not encode lasting understanding. Think of dropping complex data onto sand. It looks like something but immediately disappears. To truly solidify an insight into persistent knowledge requires a deeper system recalibration beyond mere electrical firing. It demands coherence at the level of deep biological regulation itself. This stabilization, which allows that spontaneous epiphany to become stable truth in your mind, involves fundamental shifts in how your body regulates stress and internal energy, a profound state of neuroendocrine balance necessary for permanent architecture change. But what does this look like when it is happening instantly? We have shown that lasting insight requires a profound coherence, a physiological tuning of the entire organism before and after the breakthrough moment. But here is the contradiction, the real mystery. How does this massive biological recalibration happen in the same microsecond an idea appears? We thought the shift had to be linear. Build up stability first, then realize something new. Instead, we are looking at a complete inversion. The insight itself might not be the result of stabilization, but rather the momentary state where two utterly incompatible states, the raw chaotic data and the integrated conceptual structure, are forced into immediate resonance. It is like finding perfect symmetry in pure entropy. This instantaneous bridging of chaos to coherence suggests that what we call intuition is not merely a discovery. It is an architecture collapsing inward, resolving itself instantly onto new ground. The verdict is clear. If intuition is an architecture collapsing inward, the real skill is not trying to build something stable beforehand. It is learning how to approach the precise point of maximum systemic tension. We need environments that allow for this spontaneous emergence, conditions where information can freely move without immediate linear constraint. Think not of pushing harder, but of widening your operational aperture, allowing more signals to coexist before they are forced into resolution. The actionable insight is finding and maintaining the delicate balance right on that instability threshold. It is about maximizing systemic openness while preserving intrinsic coherence. This capacity for self-organization in mind suggests a radical new framework for understanding awareness itself. The full research archive is at jmtomasofficial.com. We have traced the microscopic physics of thought to the macro scale of systemic emergence. The fundamental lesson here is this: true breakthroughs are not engineered through linear force. They arrive as spontaneous events triggered by optimal instability. Think of a high-tension wire vibrating just before it snaps. The immense energy does not dissipate slowly, it resolves instantly into a new pattern. Your greatest understanding resides in those brief moments where your system achieves perfect tension. The task is no longer about careful incremental effort. It is about cultivating the internal environment that allows for this sudden structural rearrangement of awareness itself. This shift from chaotic potential to integrated coherence defines advanced intelligence. The full research archive is at jmtomasofficial.com.